Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Brukhman. I am part of the team at Async Art, and today I'm here with DefiantSquid, who's been producing on our platform and quite prolifically, and lots of innovative works that he has. We're very excited to be here with him today to talk about his newest work called Landscape Study 1 with Visitor. DefiantSquid, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
How did you get started in art, and what's your location, and how did this artwork come to be?
A lot of my work is now very nostalgic, and a lot of it then, when I was growing up, was very comic book, pop art based. That's about 10 years old, that cushion. A lot of it was very cartoony, infused, video games and film, pop culture, that kind of thing. Recently, I've been working a bit more. A lot of my work has been kind of meditative. I've got an iPad. I started painting with it, and I do a lot of work to chill out now. And then I got involved in crypto art. So I'm kind of continuing to explore that whole thing. I obviously want to make art that people enjoy and sell it and make money and try and make a living out of it. But I also want to do things that are really personal to me. I think if I tried to follow any kind of trends, I would fail miserably and be too slow. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment with this one. This is very, very personal and very nostalgic for me.
Yeah, and so, ever since I started looking at this piece, the first thing that came to my mind was sort of these large, huge landscapes that I have seen visiting the UK, going to Ireland or even Scotland in some places, and some of the places in York as well. And so is there a particular location that you based off of this artwork, or is this sort of like a nebulous area?
It's a bit of a mix. I think I put in the description something about it being half remembered, half visited, something like that. It's a bit of a mix in the sense that some of them are places that I feel like I've been. Some of them are places that are kind of an amalgamation of landscapes. So the valley one in particular was kind of I ended up sort of thinking about valleys, and then it sort of walked into this idea of, I've actually been to Wales several times, and my partner is sort of part Welsh on her dad's side. So I thought I kind of want to do this justice. And then most of these pictures started off as just throwing down color and blocks. It's very pixel art kind of inspired, but I want to get the brush strokes in. And then after the fact, I kind of maybe do a little bit of research and tidy it up and maybe get a few details in there that I might have missed.
Absolutely. And so, you do have this very distinctive style, and it's not the first time that we've seen it. We've seen it with one of your other pieces, One More Turn 3. And I just kind of want to talk about that, because you started out in sort of illustration and comic book art, and you sort of made your way to this like very I don't know what you would call it, almost like cubism and pointillism in a sense, in the sense that you kind of get the bigger picture as you go backwards. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and how you shifted essentially from like illustration to this new sort of style that you found?
It came to me a couple of years ago where I think I made a Mondrian-esque Sonic piece, and it was just big blocks of color. And since then, I've kind of just gone looser and looser. That started off very fine detail, trying to get in all the squares exactly right. And then it's kind of just I pushed away from that. And now it's still very square, still very pixel art-ish. And there's a bit of sort of expressionism in there, but yeah, I think when it came to crypto art especially, I was like, right, here is something that I can do and enjoy doing long term. Let's try and make it my thing. Like that's now my style, which I'm quite happy about because it wasn't initially the plan. But when it comes to async, especially if I've got the option of making these studies programmable so people can enjoy different variations of them, then I can just do my own thing. This work is very personal to me, but also other people can play with it, which I really enjoy.
And on the note of being, this artwork being very personal to me, you and I have had other discussions where you've mentioned sort of your grandparents and, the paintings that you sort of grew up with looking at in your grandparents' living room. And so were they sort of these landscapes? Were they landscapes? Were they more pointillistic? What kind of artwork was in your grandparents' home, if you don't mind sharing? What was it that inspired you?
There was one in particular, and also this one also kind of inspired the framing options that I've got on here. It's the what's it called? The Poppy Field, I think, by Monet. And it's one of these things that I had. It was in my grandparents' house behind the kitchen table. It was a friend of mine from school. I think their parents had it as well. And there's one other place which I know it was somewhere, but I can't remember where it was. So I had this picture, these two characters in a field, and one of them with a sort of a sunshade. And although this is something I've never really studied Monet, but it was just always in the back of my mind. And then the other one is John Constable, who did a whole bunch of, spent like it's a career in Suffolk, which is not far from me now. In this fairly small area, just painting these landscapes and capturing local life as well as the natural landscapes and sort of the architecture as well. So I think he's quite famous for cathedrals and churches and things like that.
On that note, let's talk a little bit about the technicalities of your async piece. So there are 3 layers, is that correct?
Yes.
And those 3 layers are all sort of different parts of the painting. The first layer are the actual landscapes. And there are several different ones. I think there are 4 different ones. Is that correct?
Yeah, 4.
And they all vary. So some of them have what looks like a road. Another one looks like a valley with some mountains with a river flowing in the middle of it. Another one is trees and what looks to be like maybe a small forest. And the other one is sort of like this picturesque valley mountain with stream flowing through, which is very, very interesting. Then we have the second layer, which is the person. It's the actual man that is walking through these landscapes. And then the third one is the framing. And I just want to make a special note about the framing because that the framing was actually the first thing that I noticed. And for better or for worse, the golden frame is the one that stuck out to me immediately. And what stuck out to me is because we've all played Minecraft in the past. We've all played these like sort of video games, and this totally reminded me of like something like a golden frame or a golden set of some sort. And so, did you knowingly sort of incorporate those aspects, or is this something that just happened to be on your mind? You just kind of created it, and then I noticed it, and that's what it is, or was there a little bit more thought to that?
I'm really glad you mentioned it. I know we talked about Minecraft a little bit before, but yeah, I've played Minecraft for a long time, and it's very unlikely that it wasn't going to influence this piece. I wouldn't say I was consciously, no more than like it being kind of pixelated. Minecraft is obviously going to be a popular kind of inspiration for that. I think weirdly, now that you say it, I think the visitor itself, hang on, I've got it here. The visitor itself is actually possibly a little bit influenced by one of the paintings that you get in Minecraft, where there's like the creeper close up.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to find an image of it for you. But the thing with I think those paintings were originally paintings and then they got pixelated for the game, rather than them being actual sort of initial pixel art things. But no, it wasn't a conscious, let's make this look like Minecraft thing. It was very much these are landscapes that happen to be limited to a grid in a way. And then everything else kind of goes from there.
Do you have any other ones or any sort of like little pieces, little golden nuggets that you want to give to our audience about the background of, or maybe something that's implanted inside the painting?
I can give you one that didn't actually make it, just as I don't know, a weird teaser. So the framing thing is like they're different thicknesses. I thought, oh, we'll have one, a big chunky ornate one, maybe a sort of mid-range one, and then the metal one is kind of supposed to be quite minimal. I was initially thinking, oh, maybe I can hide something behind these, because they do completely cover up what's underneath them. And I thought, oh, I can play with that, but I might save that for something else. I really, really like the idea of, and I think I did this with some of my other ones as well. It's just always there in the back of my mind when it comes to programmable art, is that you can hide things, you can overlap things in different ways. I mean, my first one was basically just it was resolution and blending modes, if you want to sort of boil it down to two things, which I just couldn't believe was a thing that I could play with straight away. This one is kind of resolution in the sense that I've painted it in a blocky way, but I also thought I want to maybe hide things. The visitor actually has 5 layers, states, one of which is invisible. So if you want to get rid of him, you can. And that also applies to the frame. So they've both got empty layer states. That actually is kind of, that's based on the poppy field again, because as I said, I had at least 2, possibly 3 versions of it that I constantly saw when I was growing up. One of them was just an unframed box canvas, I think, on the wall in my granddad's house, and my friend had like a framed version, same size as far as I know. Pretty sure my granddad's one was a lot older because it's a poppy field and it's supposed to be red, and I remember it being very blue-green, so it must have faded, I imagine. So that's kind of where the part of the framing came in, was that's like a Monet is going to be in a national gallery somewhere, the original presumably. I didn't research it. Whereas you might also think, hang on, I want to put this. If I don't know how people tend to display digital art at home. They might have loads of different options, but if they want it to have it unframed, they can. I think that's a nice option to give people.
So the name of this artwork is Landscape Study 1 with Visitor. Is there more landscape studies that you're planning on doing, or other artworks that are coming up that you want to tell us about?
I would very much like to do some more of these. I think the one was definitely a challenge to myself to kind of carry on this series. And the idea of it being a study is, I don't know whether it's a flat out lie, but it's I didn't go to these places. They're all from my head. Maybe I could find some real places. Obviously I can't go out to many places at the moment, but I might be able to do some landscape studies of places that I've not been that I'd like to go to. I think that would be quite good. I'm not sure about the visitor. I might bring them back at some point, or have another layer that I can use to make the next one interesting. The piece that I'm working on at the moment has, I don't want to say too much. It has some landscapes in, and they're going to be kind of pixelated. So this is definitely worthwhile practice, this one, for the next one.
If people want to follow you or purchase your artwork, where can they find you, and where can they find your artwork?
So obviously they can go on Async.art. I think it's just /DefiantSquid maybe, or search me on there, and have a look through the gallery for all the other stuff as well. And I'm pretty much only on Twitter, at DefiantSquid. I'll have a website up at some point properly, but generally Twitter is where I am. And I'm on Discord a lot as well for crypto art stuff. So maybe I'll put a link to that somewhere as well.
Is there anything else that you want audiences to know about your artwork or about your art or about you that hasn't been discussed yet?
This is probably worth noting. This one kind of specifically references Windsor Castle. I think I put it in the description as well. So I grew up quite near Windsor Castle, and now I live in Norfolk. There is a National Trust property relatively near me called Anglesey Abbey, and that has an entire wing which is kind of just dedicated to landscape pictures of Windsor Castle, which to me is just fascinating that the last owner of the house just had this entire wing and loved Windsor Castle a lot. I just think that's great. And I used to just see it all the time.
Very cool. Well, thank you, DefiantSquid, for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing this artwork and also the many other innovative and interesting and subtleties of your art in the future. So thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.